So I should in terms of a Hartmann's. So I have no disclosures, but I would like to disclose that I am a colorectal surgeon, and in the majority of my practice in a patient that presents with complicated diverticulitis where you cannot manage them medically, I typically would do a sigmoid resection plus or minus diversion, but not in this patient. And so I was told the way to win this competition was to be funny. I am not funny, so I'm gonna just go based off of common sense. That being said, I have 2 kids that are 3 and 1, and common sense doesn't always win. So there are some key variables when you're thinking about a Hartmann's versus a resection in primary anastomosis, and these are surgeon variables and patient variables. When you talk about surgeon variables, it really depends on your comfort level in doing a colorectal anastomosis. So if you're a hernia surgeon, you do complex abdominal wall reconstruction and you're on general surgery call, and this patient comes in, and last time you did a colorectal anastomosis was about 6 months to a year ago, probably doing a Hartmann's procedure in this patient is probably the best way to go. And then this is not usually a problem in the United States, but there also can be some hospital constraints in terms of availability of staplers. And so there's also significant patient variables that we need to take into account. So stability. So if a patient's hemodynamically unstable in the OR, I think the majority of us would feel a Hartmann's procedure is clearly the right way to go. Significant comorbidities, such as in this patient where she's an ASA 3 or 4, in the sense of her age, her cardiac history, in addition to her dementia. And in some cases, stage of peritonitis. So for very feculent peritonitis, we would consider a Hartmann's. And then duration of sepsis. So for this lady, she's been sick for greater than a week and a half almost. And then finally, her age. So all of the data that's going to be shown to you by my colleague in terms of, resection, primary anastomosis with and without diversion is a safe option. A lot of those studies did not include patients that meet this clinical scenario. None of those studies were randomized. And so let's say you're a general surgeon in rural Wisconsin who just graduated from general surgery residency 2 months ago. This patient shows up. Last time you did a colorectal anastomosis was on your colorectal rotation 6 months ago. You're sitting there in the OR. You're reading the manufacturer's instructions. You have no earthly idea what you're doing. In that case, you should probably do a Hartmann's procedure. Hartmann's is a safe and technically feasible operation when performed by surgeons with very limited colorectal experience. And so in those situations, a Hartmann's is definitely the way to go. You're right, this mouse is a little... No, it's not doing that either. Oh. Okay. If you knew me, I have a pretty bad temper, and so that I kind of almost got it. So for this patient, very high ASA, at least 3 or 4, clinically ill, multiple comorbidities. Hartmann's in this patient who has such high risk is definitely a safe operation. The argument issue is that high risk of non-reversal when we do a Hartmann's procedure in this patient at this age, and the risk associated with a Hartmann's takedown. However, in this patient, the chances of her going to a takedown, even if you gave her an ileostomy, are kind of pretty low for her. And there's shorter operating times for a patient like this, less anesthesia, the better. And so if I haven't convinced you from a patient care standpoint, maybe I can convince you from your pockets. So this patient is probably insured by Medicare. And so if you put this patient into the ACS NSQIP database, and this is for her as having a Hartmann's procedure, you see based on benchmark, you're anywhere about yellow to green. And so when you're talking about quality metrics and how you're getting reimbursed, this is what happens when you do a resection and a primary anastomosis. And so if you're looking at quality metrics in terms of CMS and reimbursement, that is definitely something that some people may consider in terms of hospital finances. And that is the end of my presentation.